Denver Broncos Mile High View, no commercials, no bullshit. If you're a New York Jets fan and you've come to this pregame analysis, you have absolutely came to the right place. We are a no bullshit Broncos channel. We tell it like it is, and we are the unofficial authority of the Denver Broncos because we tell it like it is. This channel got all kinds of hated during the offseason. We said this team is no way ready for a Russell Wilson. They were putting the cart in front of the horse. And sure enough, the Broncos did not disappoint. And it's not just the Denver Broncos who get mad at us. Other fans of other teams get mad at us. For instance, the Charger fans did not like our analysis of Herbert until we showed film, gave them the time codes, said, go check it out. Here are the time codes. This is what we're talking about. And that shut them up. Other than that, most people around the league respect our channel because we tell it like it is. Whether it's the Broncos, whether it's the Jets, it doesn't matter. Because we drowned ourselves in the All-22, and we just tell it like it is. We tell what our eyeballs are showing us. And that gives you the context behind the stats. Most people are just into this analytic bullshit without context to the stats. You could say, yeah, this guy got all these tackles. Okay, but unfortunately his tackles were 5-10 yards downfield. So you want to keep rattling off about how great of a tackler, especially when they target the guy? Okay, film gives you context to those stats. So I want to get into the Denver Broncos versus the San Diego Chargers. I mean, what San Diego Chargers? LA Chargers. They'll always be San Diego Chargers. I mean, let's face it. I just want to briefly talk about what I saw in this game. Offensively, the offensive line was essentially a lawn chair, the definition of lawn chairs. They folded repeatedly. Now, I think Miners had probably the best game out of all of them, but he had to help the right tackle out quite a bit, which as soon as anybody had to do any type of double teaming against the Chargers, it was just a disaster. Each and every time the dam would break. But let's not stop at the offensive line. Okay, let's talk about the quarterback situation. Russell Wilson is a guy in need of a surgery. They'll probably ruin the guy because according to doctors who work on lat tears, if he continues to throw on it, continues to tear out it could be a permanent injury. They don't care. It's the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos is a place where quarterbacks go to die. So that's just par for the course. Also, Russell Wilson was not seeing the field. He had, for whatever the reason, the Chargers decided they were not going to cover Greg Dulcich, so he was wide open pretty much most of the game. Sure, he saw him for a touchdown, but that was it. He was open on other plays, and, never mind. Either he didn't see him or the offensive coordinator didn't bother to tell him, look, this guy's open. They're not even covering him. So I'm assuming the Jets will cover him and all their other tight ends, whatever that are out there. Now, I just want to wrap up with this offensively for the Denver Broncos and the Chargers is the Chargers made the same mistake. It was like they both had the same coordinator. Once they got down to the 25 or 20-yard line, they just started taking shots at the end zone. I think had the Chargers kept doing, well, I'll get into the defense, what was glaringly obvious with the Broncos defense, which is getting a little bit more credit than they deserve, is the Chargers, once they got down to the 25, 20-yard line, they decided to take shots at the end zone instead of doing what they did as they worked their way down. And that was, and this is on the defensive side, the Denver Broncos' total weakness on defense, and that's their linebacking crew, and also their the slot corner with Williams, who's lost a step. They targeted that, and with great success, as every single team has. And I want to tell Jets fans, the Seahawks targeted our linebacking, Texans targeted our linebacking. Both of them got out of doing that, and it almost cost the Seattle the game. It cost Texans the game because they just got away from it. There's this thing going on. What I've noticed in the NFL is offensive coordinators getting away from what works. That's what I've noticed so far with Bronco games. Now, San Francisco, the Garoppolo couldn't hit the side of a barn. He had wide open receivers. This is a team, the Denver Broncos, just so you know, Jet fans, the Denver Broncos are a team begging to be thrown on, especially in the middle, especially in the middle. If the Jets' offensive coordinator is worth his salt, and he looks at the film. If he actually watches film, it's glaring. You target that linebacking area because coverage-wise, it's one of the worst linebacking cores in the NFL. Why would you not target that? Now, if the Jets think that they're just going to run it up the middle, throw these sideline screens that don't go anywhere, and get into long passing situations, this is what I'm not a believer in Zack Wilson. I'm not saying he's a bum. He's a work in progress. I'm also not a believer in your offensive coordinator for the Jets. If you think you're just going to run up the middle, do these lame screenplays that go nowhere, and then end up in like third and longs, it's going to be another ugly 4 quarters of football. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. The way to beat the Broncos is, and I'll give the Jets this, what I was watching on film with them in Green Bay, they didn't just start targeting the end zone, just throwing bombs into the end zone from the 25, 20-yard line. They worked their way into scoring positions as they worked towards the end zone. I also want to say, if you target K. Williams, you'll have success. If you target Justin Simmons' area of the field, you will have success because the film shows, undisputedly, the guy gives 20, 30, and even sometimes 40-yard cushions. If your offensive coordinator can't do something in those cushion areas that Justin Simmons gives, you need to fire his ass because this guy is not watching film at all. He's got his head up his ass or something. But the film clearly shows Justin Simmons is a liability out in the defense for the Denver Broncos. Now, offensively for the Denver Broncos, this is, to me, is a mismatch nightmare. I think the front seven, personally, from what I'm seeing, if the front seven for the Jets plays like they did with Green Bay, you can bet your bottom dollar the Broncos are going to be in a lot of trouble. It's like the old gangrene days. Their defense looks very impressive. I just see it as a mismatch. So what I think that they're going to have to just, no matter what, keep working on the running game, but they can't rely on plays downfield. This downfield stuff against this defense, this defense for the Jets is physical, very and very fast. I think it's one of the best, again, defenses that they're going to go up against in the front end. I think that helps I'm sure and from what I could see, their coverage is pretty good. So on top of that front seven helping, if the Broncos and Russell Wilson think, and Russell Wilson is, if I'm not mistaken, he's got 2 hammies or he's working on 2 hammies. He's got the lateral tear. I don't know why the guy's out there, to be honest with you. They ought to just cut it, just end it, get him under the knife and say, well, better luck next year. I mean, to be honest with you, like I said, I was listening to doctors. They said that tear in the lat could become a permanent thing, a real problem if they let it go. What the Broncos have to do, and what I saw working for Green Bay, was, of course, I thought Aaron Rodgers played like shit, and if he wasn't playing like shit, his receivers were dropping balls. But what you got to do, I think, to beat the Jets' defense is you have to know where you're going with the ball very quickly. You're not going to be able to throw bombs. These big things downfield, maybe you can get away with 1 or 2, but you better be playing Brady ball. It better be quick, it better be short, and get out, because this offensive line in no way is going to match up well with this front seven, not even remotely, if they play like they did against Green Bay. So when I give a pregame, giving out a score, it doesn't help anybody out, but this is what I look at. I look at game planning. What will the Broncos do? Are they going to do the smart thing, and that is offensively, quick passes, stick with the running, trying to keep the running game going as best they can. This is a good run-stopping team too, I believe. But you can't give up on it. Quick, and maybe take a shot one time each quarter. I wouldn't go more than that. But try to get the ball out quick. Know where you're going with the ball. You have some vision. I just don't really believe in Russell Wilson enough to believe he's going to do that. Or the offensive coordinator being allowed to do that. I don't know what's going on. And working all the way down to the goal line instead of taking shots at the 20-yard line. Now, I'll reiterate this with the Jets. If they're going to just run up the middle, do ridiculous little screens, stuff like this that turns into Zack Wilson having to take shots, 10 yards down the field, it's just going to be a real ugly game. Well, I guess you could probably throw it in Justin Simmons' area sideline because he'll be off. One of the most alarming plays I saw was Kay Williams has lost a step, but man, he shot past Simmons like a rocket. He came from the other side of the field, and Simmons just kind of trotting out, to make a tackle on a big play by the Chargers. It was a wow, glaring, oh my God, kind of wow moment if you saw that on film. But like I said, it's just going to be interesting to see if offensive coordinators really watch film. If the Jets, again, are just, getting Zack Wilson into long third down situations, this is going to be one of the ugliest games again for the Denver Broncos. Matter of fact, it almost like when I was watching Green Bay and the Jets play, it was an ugly. It looked just like the Bronco games. All the Bronco games, an ugly, just was an ugly game until the breakdowns really started happening for Green Bay. But again, if we could be looking at another one of these ugly games, depending on how the offensive coordinator for the Jets plays the Broncos. They should watch Charger film. They should watch Raider film because they were relentlessly targeting the middle, which is their weakest spot. This is a team, Jet fans. This is a team, the Denver Broncos defense, that's begging to be thrown on right in the middle. And everybody has had success doing that. But for some reason, some teams get away from that. The Chargers were doing it relentlessly until they got to the 25-yard line and the 20-25. Then they just went bombs away to the end zone, which was you're just scratching your head. Like, if it didn't work for 3 quarters, why would you go into fourth and overtime doing the same thing? It just defies logic. So that's why I don't give out scores. What I wonder is how offensive coordinators are going to, if they've watched film, and how they're going to play call. And I'm just saying, that's your game plan, Jets, going in to beat the Denver Bronco defense. And again, I think the Broncos are well overmatched up front against this Jets defense. If they play, again, if they're not taking a vacation or a break or whatever, from what I saw with the Green Bay, if they play like that, it's going to be extremely difficult for the Broncos. And the only way out of it I see is if they have to throw quick. Because their offensive line just ain't going to be able to set anything up for them. And they're going to have to keep working on the running game. So that's it in a nutshell. I do want to apologize. I would have liked to have done a much better film job with showing film. I'm just scrambling to get this out. I was up at night watching the Green Bay Jets film. Then I got to get up really early, to just voice something, what I've seen between the Charger and the Broncos game and this Jets-Green Bay game, tied all together. And Colby is the man over at DEFCON 5 where he works. He's so reliable that they're not giving him a day off because he's got to cover everybody else. I'm just saying, apologize. This is, if we got paid for this, you would really get some in-depth stuff, but I can only get this out as fast as I can or as best I can, and I apologize. But I'm just going to say this is going to be a very difficult game for the Broncos yet again if that defense shows up like they did against Green Bay.